Yes, people, it's your boy Flicks back with another Premier League review for this coming weekend. We have some tasty fixtures, week 11. The tables are starting to hot up. Boy, Tottenham are still top of the league. Who would have thought that? Let's crack on. Before I start today's Premier League review for this coming weekend, you know what to do. If you're new to my channel right now, make sure to hit that subscribe button. I'll be very much appreciated. Also, smash a like and please have your say in the comment section. It'll be very much appreciated to hear your thoughts of today. So with week 11, we've had some tasty fixtures last week with Tottenham still unbeaten, top of the league. Who would have thought that? Beating Palace 2-1. Brentford beat a very, very poor Chelsea side 2-0. Again, Arsenal unbeaten as well. Boo, come on. They absolutely demolished Sheffield United 5-0. Bournemouth got their first win of the season, beating Burnley 2-1. But from what I heard last week, Burnley got a goal disallowed in the dying seconds of that game. Wolves pulled off a 2-2 draw against Newcastle. West Ham lost 1-0 to Everton. I didn't see that one coming. Aston Villa beat Luton 3-1. No disrespect to Luton, but we all thought, I personally thought Villa would absolutely demolish Luton, but they didn't, but still they won. Brighton only managed to draw against Fulham. I really thought Brighton would win that game. Liverpool beat Nottingham Forest 3-0. And Man United got beat by a very good Man City side, losing 3-0. So with this weekend coming, week 11, we start with Man United versus Fulham at Craven Cottage. And then we got Brentford versus West Ham. Burnley versus Crystal Palace. Everton have got Brighton. Man City have got Bournemouth. Sheffield United have got Wolves. Newcastle have got Arsenal. That's going to be tasty. Then Sunday, Nottingham Forest versus Aston Villa. Luton versus Liverpool. And then Monday night, my team Tottenham versus a very poor Chelsea side this season. Again, it's going to be very tasty, especially with Pochettino coming back to the lane. It's going to be scenes. So I'm going to move on with my predicted scores. Obviously, Fulham and Man United come up first. Man United are unbeaten in the last 4 visits against Fulham, home and away. Again, if I'm going to pick someone, it's possibly It's not possibly. It's going to have to be Man United on paper as well. They should beat Fulham. But again, United have had a shocking start to the season. So if I'm going to say a score, Fulham 0, Man United 2. And then we move on to Brentford versus West Ham. Brentford are actually unbeaten in the last 3 games. 3 previous games, I should say. And going on to last week, obviously Brentford absolutely slaughtered Chelsea in the end, beating them 2-0 at Stamford Bridge. So if I'm going to say a score, and also West Ham lost 1-0 to Everton last week. Again, I didn't see that coming, like I said earlier. So for me, Brentford 2-1 against West Ham. And then we move on to Burnley against Crystal Palace. Burnley have only won 1 game this season. They was unlucky last weekend from what I heard, where they pretty much got a last-minute equaliser, but obviously VAR denied it or something like that. But please have your say in the comment section about that one. Palace, it was a nervy end against Tottenham. They was pretty much getting all the balls in the box, but obviously our defence was top-notch that night, and we managed to keep it 2-1 in the end. Palace, if I'm going to say a score here, I'm going to say a Palace win. I'm going to say Burnley 1, Crystal Palace 2. And then we move on to Everton versus Brighton. I actually forgot this scoreline, but Everton, when they last played Brighton, Everton actually won 5-1. Obviously, I can't see it being that scoreline this time around. With Brighton being a decent side nowadays, Everton, I really don't know again, to be honest. But if I'm going to say a scoreline, I'm going to say Everton 1, Brighton 2. And then we move on to Man City versus Bournemouth. Bournemouth have only won one game this season. Man City are up there, as always. Being at Man City as well, they're also unbeaten in the last 4. Again, if I'm going to say a score, Man City 3, Bournemouth 0. And then we move on to Sheffield United versus Wolves. A poor Sheffield United. They've had a shocking start since they've come back to the Premier League. Bottom of the league. They've only got 1 point and haven't won a game yet. So a very shocking start. Wolves also unbeaten in the last 4, winning 3-0 in the last game. Again, Wolves were unlucky against Newcastle, managed to get a draw last weekend. So if I'm going to say a score, I'm going to say Sheffield United 0, Wolves 2. Newcastle side again this season. Then again, Arsenal. I hate to say it, being a Tottenham boy, but Arsenal have had a good start. They're still unbeaten, as well as Tottenham being unbeaten. Arsenal unbeaten in the last 2, but going to St James's Park, it's going to be a bit dodge, I reckon. I would like to see a draw. Obviously, me being a Spurs boy, but you know what? I really can't. Well, actually, saying that, I'm going to change my mind. I was sort of swinging towards the Arsenal winning this one, but with 1 being at St James's Park and 2, Newcastle are a team to watch out for, especially where that they played last season and where the way they're playing this season, they're up there and they're in the Champions League now. Who would have thought that? So I'm going to change my mind on this one, even though, like I said, Arsenal unbeaten in the last 2. I'm going to go for a cracker here. I'm going to say Newcastle 2, Arsenal 2. And then we move on to Sunday, Nottingham Forest versus Aston Villa. Villa are unbeaten in all 5 versus Forest. I'm going to say Forest 0, Aston Villa 2. Then Luton versus Liverpool, a poor Luton side. No disrespect to Luton, but if I'm going to say a score here, I'm going to say Luton 0, Liverpool 3. And then we move on to Monday nights. Last game of the weekend, Tottenham at the Lane versus Chelsea. Chelsea, obviously Pochettino. It's going to be very tasty. Obviously, Poch has not gone back to the Lane until Monday night, and obviously it's going to be scenes. It will be scenes, but I hate to say it, but there will be boos coming from Tottenham fans. I'm not going to boo Poch. You can't, at the end of the day, you can't boo him for what he's done, for what he achieved at Tottenham. But it's sad to say that there will be boos. There will be boos because obviously Chelsea are one of our rivals, and who would have thought Pochettino would manage Chelsea one day? But it's happened. We move on. We've got Ange now. Tottenham are still unbeaten, as well as Arsenal, but we're not going to talk about that one right now. If I'm going to say a score, and I actually forgot about this one, because, Tottenham and Chelsea, we all know, if you look in the history, Tottenham never, ever have a chance against Chelsea in the league. It's always Chelsea that come top. But Tottenham are actually unbeaten in the last 2 visits against Chelsea, and especially the way Tottenham have been this season and the way Chelsea have been this season. Honestly, they have been absolutely dreadful. So for me, if I'm going to say a score, Tottenham unbeaten still, moving to Monday night, I'm going to say Tottenham 2, Chelsea 0. So there you have it. There's my predicted scores. And with the tables, obviously Tottenham are still sitting first, 0 losses, 8 wins, 26 points. Then we move on to Arsenal. They're in second, 7 wins, 24 points. Man City in third on 24. Liverpool in fourth on 23. Aston Villa in fifth on 22 points. Then we've got Newcastle in sixth. They're on 17. Brighton are in 7th. They're on 17 points as well. A poor Man United side, 8th. Only 5 wins. It's ridiculous. They're on 15. And then we've got West Ham just behind them on 4 wins. Again, on 14 points. So just behind them. Brentford, mid-table, 10th. They're on 13. We've got Chelsea, 11th. Honestly, it's disgusting. When you think about it, it's actually dreadful. But yeah, man, they're 11th. Only 3 wins on 12 points. Wolves are just behind them in 12th. They're on 12 points as well. Crystal Palace in 13th. They're on 12 as well. Fulham in 14th. They're on 12 points. Everton, only 3 wins, sitting in 15th. They're on 10 points. And Nottingham Forest, 16th. Only 2 wins, 10 points. Bournemouth managed to get their first win last weekend. They're 17th. They're on 6 points. And then we've got the bottom 3. Luton, only 1 win, 5 points. Burnley, only 1 win, 4 points. And Sheffield United sitting bottom of the table, 0 points, 1 point. So there you have it. What do you think the scores are going to be this weekend? Do you reckon Tottenham could beat Chelsea? Newcastle, do you reckon they could beat Arsenal and stop them from being unbeaten this season? Fulham, Man United. Some tasty games, but please have your say in the comment section. What do you think your team scores are going to be? But yeah, man, that's me done for now. Have your say in the comment section. Just like I said, please smash a like and sub to the channel if you're new. I'll be very much appreciated. Come on.